What happens when one of Hollywood's most revered comeback kings goes head-to-head with a late-night host who crosses the line? In this video, we break down the jaw-dropping clash between Robert Downey Jr. and Stephen Colbert. An interview, gone so far off the rails, it left audiences stunned and executives scrambling. What started as a standard press tour stop became one of the most tense, uncomfortable moments in recent TV memory, culminating in Downey walking off set with the cameras still rolling. But before we dive into this explosive showdown of ego, boundaries, and a celebrity finally reaching his limit, make sure you hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Let me know. Which celebrity interview left you speechless? We're building a space for the real stories, the ones the mainstream avoids. Now let's rewind. It was supposed to be a routine late-night spot. Robert Downey Jr., fresh off another critically praised role, was booked as the featured guest on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Industry insiders say Downey's team had been crystal clear. Certain topics were strictly off-limits. A common ask for stars of his caliber. What wasn't common? How quickly those boundaries were bulldozed. From the moment Downey stepped on stage, something was off. Regular viewers noticed it. The usual warm hug replaced with a stiff, calculated handshake. Colbert's opening quips didn't land. Downey smiled politely, but there was a tension behind his eyes. A stiffness to how he perched on the edge of his seat, like he was ready to bolt at any moment. "You look great, Robert. 10 years ago, would you have believed you'd be sitting here now?" Colbert started light, referencing Downey's legendary career turnaround. Downey nodded. "Life's been kind. I'm grateful every day. For the work, for the people who believed in me." Then came the turn. Colbert's tone shifted. "You've become quite the franchise guy. Iron Man, Sherlock Holmes. Some critics say you're just playing versions of yourself now. Any truth to that?" The studio audience let out nervous chuckles. Downey's jaw tightened, but he kept his cool. "Every role's a new challenge," he said smoothly. "I give everything I've got, whether it's in a metal suit or a Victorian trench coat." What the audience didn't know? Behind the scenes, red flags were already going up. Colbert had veered off the pre-approved script in the first 60 seconds, a rare move for the usually disciplined host. According to one production assistant, even the control room went silent. But Colbert wasn't done. He pivoted to money, prodding at Downey's reported 8-figure salary, then jabbed at wealth inequality in Hollywood. Downey shot a glance, off stage toward his publicist, who was already exchanging frantic signals with the floor manager. Then came the real blow. "Your new film's all about redemption," Colbert said, leaning forward. "Something you, know a thing or two about, personally." The room froze. Downey's past, his addiction, his arrests, had been explicitly off-limits. The temperature dropped. Viewers felt it. The crew felt it. Even the laughter died. Downey's voice chilled. "We all have our journeys. The film stands on its own." But Colbert pushed again. "Sure, but isn't it fair to say your personal demons helped you relate to that character's fall from grace? Cameras cut to commercial, but when they came back, the gloves were off." "Let me be more specific," Colbert said, his voice narrowing in tone. "You've been open about your struggles, addiction, jail time. There was a period where many in Hollywood saw you as unemployable." From the wings, Downey's publicist stood, abruptly, phone in hand. Her body language said it all. This was a line that never should have been crossed. Downey didn't flinch, but a twitch in his jaw betrayed the rising tension. "That's right," he said, steady but cold. "I've been fortunate, Enough to rebuild both my career and my life. Fortunate indeed. Colbert pressed, eyebrows raised. Some would say extraordinarily fortunate, considering the severity of your legal troubles. Do you ever think about others who made similar mistakes but never got that second chance? Downey's response was calm but razor-sharp. I think about it every day, which is exactly why I started a foundation focused on criminal justice reform and addiction recovery. Rather than pivot, Colbert doubled down. Speaking of support, he began, flipping to another card. There are rumors that some of your Iron Man co-stars had to go to bat for you with the studio. That you weren't exactly an easy sell. Any truth to that? The energy in the room shifted. Again. One woman seated near the front would later tell reporters she wondered if it was time to get up and leave. Downey turned to Colbert slowly, removed his glasses and said, "Stephen, I get the sense you're circling something here. Maybe we should stop dancing around it and just cut to the chase." Colbert, unfazed, smiled stiffly and leaned in. "Fair enough. There's been chatter in the industry about your salary demands. Some say your latest project went over budget because of accommodations made for you. That was a red line, explicitly outlined by Downey's reps before the taping. Compensation discussions were off limits. Downey didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Fascinating, he said coolly, that we're discussing contracts now on a late-night comedy show, especially when your producers promised this was about the film. Colbert offered a dismissive wave. Just trying to keep it real. Have an authentic conversation. Authenticity, Downey repeated almost to himself. Interesting choice of words. Meanwhile, his publicist had edged closer to the stage, texting furiously. Crew members later confirmed she was contacting CBS executives in real time. Colbert pivoted again, but the damage was done. Your image makeover has been remarkable, from mug shots to Marvel icon. Some critics say your polished public persona glosses over a more complicated reality. Thoughts? And that's when something visibly changed in Downey. His PR smile vanished. His voice dropped to a chilling calm. "My thoughts?" he said, locking eyes with Colbert. "I think you're determined to manufacture a moment at my expense. I'm just wondering, what exactly are you hoping to prove?" The room froze. Even the band stopped playing. Inside the control room, one staffer described the atmosphere in 2 words: full panic. Colbert tried to retake control. "I'm simply asking the questions the audience wants answered. That's my job." Downey cut him off. "Your job," he said sharply, "is to entertain while giving guests space to share their work. What you're doing, that's not journalism, it's baiting." Colbert leaned back, half smirking. "Maybe you'd prefer softballs. I thought you enjoyed a bit of intellectual pushback." Downey didn't flinch. There's nothing intellectual about ambush journalism dressed up as conversation, especially when your team agreed to completely different terms. Offstage, a stagehand made a throat-slash motion. Kill the segment. But the cameras were still. Rolling. Colbert gave a forced laugh. "Ambush is a strong word. We're just having a discussion." "A discussion implies mutual respect," Downey replied. This feels like provocation for sport." The floor director moved closer to the stage. Multiple sources later confirmed CBS considered pulling the interview entirely. Colbert tried one last pivot. "Nothing personal. I'm just trying to get beneath the surface." Downey leaned forward. "If that were true, you'd have asked about my foundation, about the work we're doing with formerly incarcerated people. Instead, you zeroed in on the lowest chapter of my life, one I've worked years to move beyond. Colbert set down his note cards. Let me be direct. There are people who think your redemption story is just PR, a polished myth. What do you say to those critics? For a beat, Downey said nothing. Then he sat back, collected and razor-focused. You know, Stephen, he said, his voice now like ice. I came here tonight out of professional courtesy. Your producers told my team this was a celebration of a film that hundreds of people poured themselves into. A film about forgiveness, about second chances. You want to talk about authenticity? He looked straight into the camera. This is what it looks like when someone mistakes entertainment for interrogation. And maybe, just maybe, they're the one hiding behind a mask. The audience didn't know whether to clap, gasp, or look away. Many later posted they felt like they had watched something deeply personal, something that should never have been broadcast. Downey continued, his tone calm but unmistakably pointed. You've chosen to spend our time together rehashing the lowest points of my life, things I've addressed openly for years. I have to ask, why? For the first time, Colbert shifted, uncomfortably in his seat. The viewers? No. Downey cut in, raising a hand. Let's not hide behind the viewers. This was your choice. I'm genuinely curious about the motivation. Colbert's smile faltered. I believe in substantive interviews. Celebrity culture has enough fluff. Substantive, Downey echoed, nodding slowly. You know what would be substantive. A real conversation about addiction and its impact on communities, or the justice system and who it punishes, or the artistic themes in the film I'm here to discuss. But none of that interests you, does it? By now, CBS executives had entered the studio and were urgently conferring with the floor director. Colbert's producer was frantically signaling from the wings. I think you're mischaracterizing this, Colbert began. I don't think I am, Downey replied, still composed. You've spent this entire segment trying to provoke me. You brought up topics your team agreed were off limits. You framed every question to inflame, not inform. This doesn't feel like journalism, or even entertainment. It feels personal. The studio fell silent. Even the camera operators were exchanging uneasy glances. It's not personal, Colbert insisted, though his face had flushed. But your past is relevant to your current success. I've never hidden from my past, Downey said. I've spoken about it extensively. What I object to is the reduction of my life and the work of hundreds of people on this film to a spectacle for ratings. On a night meant to celebrate what many critics call the best performance of my career, you chose this. Colbert's jaw tightened. If you're this sensitive about legitimate questions, maybe... I'm going to stop you right there, Downey interrupted sharply. He turned to face the audience. What you're witnessing right now is part of the problem. Labeling someone sensitive for calling out bad faith. I've done thousands of interviews. I've answered hard questions. The difference is context and intent, and your intent tonight is clear. Backstage, Colbert's producer was making slashing motions to end the segment, but Colbert pushed. Forward. My intent, he said, visibly irritated, is to have a conversation that goes deeper than promotion. No, Downey said, standing up. Your intent was to create a viral moment at my expense, to spike your ratings by baiting me into an emotional response, the audience gasped. Downey removed his microphone. Phones discreetly recorded the moment, despite strict no recording rules. Robert, don't you think... Colbert began, rising from his chair. "What I think," Downey said, his voice rising enough to be picked up without the mic, "is that you've forgotten the difference between challenging someone and ambushing them, between tough questions and deliberate provocation. Audience members in the front row described Colbert as visibly sweating, his face pale. This isn't just about me," Downey continued, now addressing both Colbert and the audience. "It's about a culture that confuses cruelty with candor and conflict with content. I've worked hard to rebuild my life. I've been transparent about my past. I've tried to help others through what I've learned, and I won't stand here and let all that be reduced to a punchline for your monologue." With that, Downey walked off stage. The audience sat in stunned silence, then broke into scattered, uncertain applause. Colbert, visibly shaken, turned to the camera. "We'll be right back after these messages," he said, his trademark polish completely gone. The show cut to commercial, but the drama wasn't over. Backstage was chaos. Downey's publicist demanded the footage be pulled. CBS executives huddled, with legal teams. Colbert retreated to his office, refusing to speak with anyone but his executive producer. When the show resumed, Colbert sat alone at his desk, visibly uncomfortable. "Well, that was something," he said with a forced chuckle. One critics would later call painful to watch. "We'll be back tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal." But the damage was done. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation began circulating online, despite CBS's attempts to suppress them. By midnight, Downey Colbert was trending nationwide. Industry analysts weighed in almost immediately, and overwhelmingly sided with Downey. "What we saw tonight was unprofessional at best, exploitative at worst," wrote entertainment journalist Kristen Barnes in a piece that quickly went viral. Colbert wasn't conducting an interview. He was staging a takedown. By morning, CBS had released a statement expressing regret for the miscommunication and praising Downey as a valued guest whose remarkable career speaks for itself. Notably, the statement never mentioned Colbert by name. Downey's team maintained silence, but a source close to the actor told reporters, "Robert has spent decades answering for his past. He's never avoided it, but he won't let it be weaponized." The incident marked a rare misstep for Colbert, whose relationships with celebrity guests had long been strong. Several actors publicly voiced support for Downey, including Marvel co-stars, who echoed the sentiment. The past is part of the journey, but it doesn't define the destination. Mark Ruffalo posted just 9 words that quickly went viral. "Some things matter more than publicity. Proud of my friend for standing up for himself." In the days that followed, the fallout from Robert Downey Jr.'s walk-off was swift and multifaceted. Colbert's ratings initially spiked. Curious viewers tuned in, anticipating an apology or explanation. But that interest proved short-lived. Within a week, viewership began to decline sharply. 2 high-profile guests quietly rescheduled their appearances, and CBS executives held urgent meetings to reassess the show's direction. Television critics didn't hold back. Veteran reviewer Alan Sepinwall wrote, "Whatever Colbert's intent, the result was uncomfortable viewing that served neither the guest nor the audience. Late-night television relies on an unspoken contract. Challenging questions are welcome. Ambushes are not." Behind the scenes, tensions were rising. Sources revealed a divided staff. Some defended Colbert, insisting Downey had overreacted. Others expressed growing concern over the show's drift toward manufactured controversy. "There's been pressure to create viral moments," one anonymous staffer told The Hollywood Reporter. Sometimes that can cross a line. A full week after the incident, Colbert finally addressed it on air. His usual wit was noticeably absent. "I want to take a moment to talk about something that happened on our show recently," he began. "My interview with Robert Downey Jr. didn't go as planned, and for that, I take full responsibility." While the apology appeared sincere, it stopped short of admitting to deliberate provocation. Industry insiders noted that CBS executives had reportedly insisted he address it. Ratings data showed viewers were already drifting toward competing late-night shows. For Downey, however, the moment marked a surprising boost. Public sentiment overwhelmingly favored him. Many praised his composure and refusal to be exploited. His film opened strong at the box office, with several critics noting that the Colbert incident had only heightened public interest. More importantly, the confrontation sparked a national conversation about the ethics of celebrity interviews. Media professors began citing the exchange in classrooms. Industry panels debated the line between accountability and spectacle. On CNN, media analyst Jennifer Cho remarked, "What makes this so notable is that it exposed something usually hidden." Celebrities and hosts maintain the illusion of friendly spontaneity, but Downey pulled back the curtain on how transactional and sometimes manipulative these interviews can be. 3 weeks after the incident, Downey broke his silence with a calm, reflective Instagram post, one that never mentioned Colbert by name. "I believe in second chances because I've been fortunate enough to receive them. I believe in accountability because I've faced it. And I believe in walking away from situations that don't serve truth or compassion. Grateful for all the support, and looking forward to conversations that build rather than divide." The post garnered over 5 million likes in just hours. Celebrities, fans, and advocacy groups flooded the comments with support. Several addiction recovery organizations even reported a surge in donations, crediting Downey's dignified handling of the ordeal. Meanwhile, at CBS, the consequences continued. Booking agents grew wary. Executives began re-evaluating the show's tone. Colbert, sources said, was instructed to adopt a softer approach with future guests. The change was noticeable. While his political edge remained sharp, celebrity interviews took on a far more deferential tone. "It's as if he's overcorrecting," observed one industry insider. The pendulum has swung in the opposite direction. Media analysts soon began referring to the incident as a cultural turning point. "What Downey did," explained cultural critic Sasha Reynolds, "was set a public boundary. He drew a line between accountability and exploitation, between journalism and provocation. That resonated because we've normalized conflict as entertainment." 6 months later, the aftershocks were still visible. Colbert's ratings had stabilized, but never fully rebounded. Downey, meanwhile, received a humanitarian award for his work, supporting formerly incarcerated individuals. In his acceptance speech, he didn't mention the incident, but said simply, "We need more conversations that heal, not harm." Perhaps the most lasting effect was on late-night television itself. Producers across networks began quietly revising their pre-interview practices, putting more emphasis on transparency and mutual respect. Several hosts pledged to avoid gotcha moments and prioritize substance over spectacle. Media historian Robert Chen summarized it best on NPR. "This conflict may have elevated the discourse. It forced the industry to reconsider the purpose of these interviews. Are they just promotional vehicles? Are they designed for viral clips? Or can they be meaningful exchanges that respect both the guest and the audience's intelligence?" Audience, members who witnessed the moment firsthand, still remember it vividly. "You could feel the energy shift," recalled Sarah Patel, who attended the taping. It went from uncomfortable to powerful. Downey wasn't being a diva. He was setting a boundary, and people respected that. As for Downey and Colbert themselves, sources say they haven't spoken since that night. Downey's career has only risen. Colbert, while still a respected voice, now treads far more carefully. And the ultimate irony, as one veteran publicist put it, Colbert wanted a viral moment. He got one. Just not the one he wanted. Sometimes the most powerful statement is walking away.